Last week, we spent time talking about gratitude, about what changes when we begin to see the earth as a gift, not just scenery, not just as a resource, not just as something useful, a gift. And this week, we want to ask the next question. What do we do with the gift? Because if something is truly a gift, we do not only enjoy it, we care for it. We pay attention to it. We treat it differently.
And that brings us into a conversation about consumption and conservation. We want to say something from the beginning. Consumption is not the enemy. Everything living consumes. Trees draw water and nutrients from the soil. Animals eat plants and other animals. Soil receives what has died and turns it into life again. Fire consumes dead wood. Rivers shape the land. Life depends on exchange. So we're not asking, how do we stop consuming? We are asking, what happens when consumption loses its limits? What happens when receiving becomes taking? What happens when use becomes exploitation? What happens when more becomes normal? What happens to the soul when nothing teaches us enough? Morning, Ange.
Morning, Dee.
I just realized I started the episode.
You did. I allowed you to have the win today.
Thank you.
It's a gift.
Wow. And I received that gift in humility and mindfulness.
Well, thank you. You're welcome.
Yeah, exactly. How are you?
I'm good. I'm excited about this week of content for sure. And tying everything back into gratitude and the beauty of that conversation. Yeah. Also, moderately convicted as we have sat with these topics and try to sort our own selves in the middle of this. What is the state of me in the context of this conversation?
Yeah.
So definitely food for thought. What about you?
Heavily convicted.
Yeah. But you said you made changes from last week.
I really wanted to announce it.
Dun, da, da, da.
Not in a bragging way, but just in like kind of an accountable way where I mentioned that I left the water running when I brushed my teeth. And all this past week, I have chosen to turn it off. Just to the initial rinse, and then the final rinse of the toothbrush and my mouth.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I feel good about making that choice and making a change, just even if it's in a small way.
Yeah. One could call it a micro shift.
One could call it a micro shift.
Yes. I've combined a little bit of a few practices we talked about.
Okay.
I have, number one, practice a little more stillness from several weeks ago, in that I made a micro shift to every single day take a walk on our really long driveway. And I've done all but a couple in silence. And then I'm out in nature as well, because our driveway, obviously on either side, is heavily wooded. And we even have a creek that runs underneath it. So I stop sometimes and take in the scenery there and just trying to appreciate the beauty that is.
Yeah. Well done.
Yeah, look at us. Making all kinds of strides.
That's right. Trying to think of other ways I can brag on myself, but nothing's coming to mind.
So I have a question for you.
You always do.
I love to ask questions. As we talk about gifts and receiving gifts, what would you say is something that you've been given that you just genuinely, it's one of your prized possessions? Okay, so the thing you're going to talk about though now, I'm going to write what I think you're going to say right here on this piece of paper. And then I want to hear what you say.
Okay. So the thing that I have right now in my room that holds a lot of meaning is a picture frame of sorts that shortly after my granny passed away, my dear friend had a book that I had left at her house that my granny had given me, and she had inscribed on the front page. So my friend had it turned into, like, she took the handwriting from my granny and she sent it off to this Etsy shop, and they actually, like, it's like this wooden outline or whatever you call that, like inscription of my granny's handwriting to me. And so that holds significant meaning, obviously, because I look up there and see her handwriting to me.
Love it. I love it.
Yeah. What did you write down?
There is something so personal about handwriting.
Oh, yes.
That just evokes a whole different emotion,
Yeah.
I think. Well, that's not what I wrote down.
Oh.
I wrote down ring.
Oh.
Because I was thinking quite often you wear your granny's ring.
Yes.
And so, but I love the fact that we have multiple treasures.
Oh, yes, we do. What comes to mind when you think about like a precious gift?
I am really blessed in that, like you, I have people who've gone before me who have passed things down. I have a fairly deep heritage on both sides of my family. And so I thought of 3 things, and I can articulate those fairly quickly. One of which I wear pretty much constantly. I have my mother's diamond from her engagement ring from my dad. My mom passed away years and years ago. I have my great grandfather's desk that sits in my foyer that is gorgeous. Mm-hmm. And then I also inherited my mom's china. And I know that's kind of old school, probably ages me and dates me, but it was a thing of the past. I also have my grandmother's china, so I've inherited a lot of things. However, specifically, as we were preparing for this episode and talking all about these topics, I was thinking of all of those things are gifts. And like, how do we interact with those gifts was my next question. So how would you say you interact with the inscription from your grandmother and other treasures that you have?
Well, I put them in places where I can see them. So, I sometimes intentionally look at it and stop and think about my granny, or like I have pictures, colored pictures from children, from my nieces and nephews, or children in my life right now that have given me something where I'll stop and just appreciate either the moment that I remember that was given to me, or just like the relationship that we have.
Yeah. You frequently wear your granny's ring.
I do.
You'll see it sometimes on a podcast episode.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I think that's where we came to, was that I just said, I have this unbelievably gorgeous, old, antique desk that's in my foyer of our home. So pretty much everybody that comes in my house is going to walk by it, and it has become a little bit of a holding space for Amazon packages or whatever. As well as I wear my necklace pretty much all the time, and then I use the china. But we were talking about how though I use these things, I still am mindful as I use them. It's not just like I wouldn't take the china out to the backyard around on a concrete driveway and let my grandkids play with it. I'm going to treat it responsibly. And I think that's what we started realizing, that ideally that's the way we'd like to see the created world, is as a gift that we treat responsibly and mindfully, and in a way that fits it being a gift.
Yeah. In an appropriate way.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you want it to last. You want the china to last. Maybe even to give to your daughters and their daughters or sons. So you're going to treat it in a way that preserves it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm.
So
Makes me excited to get into what we're going to talk about today.
absolutely. What are we talking about today, Dee?
Well, Ange, we are talking about consumption and conservation.
Mm. Yeah, that's kind of the scope of this week, tying it back into gratitude, which we advocated for last week, that consumption and conservation can be, if done well and appropriately, can be expressions of gratitude.
Mm-hmm.
And I think seeing it that way has changed my perspective over the last several months and probably up to a year as we've kind of become more and more aware of this greater gift that we've been given than what we've seen before.
Yeah. So you ready to get into it?
I am.
Let's
I
do
think
it.
we have had a directive that primarily we're using as a directive for this week to keep us focused and hopefully keep everything congruent and moving in the same direction. And so that thesis, if you will, that we're working off of says every living thing consumes. So the issue's not consumption itself. The deeper question is whether our consumption is bounded, aware, relational, and connected to consequence, or whether it becomes endless, unconscious, extractive, and detached from gratitude. That's a lot of words. But essentially, it's not just a conversation today as far as to consume or not to consume. We're not pitting those against each other.
Right.
We're advocating for a conscious or a mindful, aware, and responsible consumption.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's pretty, I feel like that's something important to say because sometimes these conversations immediately can get down a rabbit trail where people feel shamed or judged or misunderstood. And that's not a conversation we're willing to have.
Right.
We're advocating for responsible, mindful consumption.
Yeah. And consumption is, at the very basic understanding of it, it is natural.
Yes. So we see it in the natural world.
Yep.
How?
Well, we see it in trees drawing water from plants and nutrients from soil.
Yeah.
Animals, eating plants and other animals.
Right. Rivers that cut through over time.
Yep.
Cut big gorges through rock.
Yeah. There really is no living thing that exists without taking something in, without
Right.
consuming.
I mean, we consume air
Right.
just by breathing.
Yes.
So we're not saying that consumption is wrong. We're saying that I'm realizing how little I have taken consideration, been mindful of how I'm consuming and at what levels.
So really it's our appetite that is the thing that needs to be discussed.
Yes. The desire that wants to consume.
Yeah.
I think in most cases, obviously we realize we're casting huge generalizations
Yes.
here. And we're certainly not blind to the fact that there are many, many people on our planet, in our own country, that are going without basic needs on a regular basis. And so I think that aside, if you're talking about the general public, yes, I think that we have a skewed version of what we need. And very little, going all the way back to our thesis for the week, very little consciousness of the consequences of my need. Because again, all of a sudden it becomes, I'm the center of this universe. I'm the center of this. So whatever I deem that I need, that's irregardless of what someone else may genuinely need.
Right, right.
So if my pursuit of more disregards what someone else needs, then I feel like that's where the tension lies.
Yeah.
That's where the appetite gets out of whack.
So then, like usual, it boils down to starting with an awareness and maybe some time of thinking, like, what do I actually need to live? And live well, but, going through that mindfulness.
Right.
because the line often gets blurred between what I need and more.
Yeah, it really does. Even this all goes back to attention and awareness. And these things are things that can be thought about, meditated on, tossed around in your own self and maybe your own family through silence and solitude, prayer and meditation. These are things, if you're looking to live a more holistic life in connection with yourself and with those around you, including the created world, these are definite questions that have to be at some point addressed.
Yes. So then if consumption is not the problem, then maybe we have to ask a better question.
So yeah, I would say the better question may be, what does healthy consumption look like? And how can we see that displayed in the natural world?
Which we can. So our best teacher is actually right outside our window. And healthy consumption is seen in nature cycles.
Yeah. I think this was so demonstrated to us when we were out west recently. And we had this incredible guide that took us into the Teton Mountains and the Teton National Forest, and he was such an incredibly smart guy that helped us understand the natural ecosystem that exists in that particular region of the country, whereby when any of the components in that ecosystem have been disrupted or interfered with, especially by humans, it has thrown off the entire thing. And we're talking about, it went from big predators like wolves, which were almost extinct up until maybe even within the last 50 years, they're just starting to repopulate. Wolves to the buffalo out there that have been reintegrated back into that ecosystem, and how even their hooves were designed to be better to help the soil.
Here in North America?
In North America. Mm-hmm. There were also, then it went all the way down to even just the beavers that made dams in the water that allowed for different nutrients to grow there, and then helped control the water that flowed further downstream. I mean, it was amazing to sit with. So I was thinking of, in that context, he was saying that if left to their own self, the elk were another component in that. He was saying if left to themselves, that the wolves will help control the population of both the elk and the buffalo. Yeah. And then in turn, the elk and the buffalo graze, and with their hooves, they stir up the soil that promotes better growth for all the other animals who eat the grass. It's just wild to think about.
It's like we said, I think we said last week, about everything affects, or something affects everything. Yes. And it is that idea of ecosystem, of things being in relationship with each other. Yeah. Nothing lives outside of relationship.
No. Everything has consequences.
Yeah.
And I think when we if we don't live in a mindful mindset about our consumption, our levels of consumption, how we consume, then what we're automatically doing is we're causing disruption in the balance of things.
Right.
And we're not caring how everything, we're not showing that we care that everything we do has consequences, which I would say then we probably don't see it as a gift. So that's how this all goes back. But it is fascinating how, animals of themselves, the deer don't overeat.
Right.
They're not greedy. The birds don't eat more than they need to.
They do build nests in wreaths indoors.
Yes, they do love to build that. And the carpenter bees, for some reason, really, really love to populate our side porch. But I loved how even trees themselves are part of this whole cycle. So when a tree does finally decay and die, it in turn still remains in the forest and becomes food for those things around it. Yep. And so, again, it's being conscious in its consumption of taken nutrients until it can no longer function, and then it becomes the nutrients for other trees.
Yeah, it gives back.
Yes.
And predators, you're talking about wolves, they don't hunt for sport or status or accumulation.
Yeah.
They hunt for what they need.
Yeah. And yet I think living here and growing up in a Western mindset, that oftentimes I have participated in, bought into the system that always says more is better.
Yeah.
The American dream to some degree was built on, I can make as much money, I can accumulate as much stuff as I want, I can become anything I want with very little regard to the whole.
Yeah.
It's really more about what do I want and how do I get it?
Go and get it.
Yep. Yep. So I think between more is better, faster is better, newer is better, convenient is better. These are all messages that I feel like are ingrained into my own attitude and psyche toward most everything.
Which seems to be in stark contrast to the example we see that we just talked about in nature.
Because I think it goes back to proximity, attention, and this awareness, where I start to realize that because the normal that I operate in is constantly upgrading everything. But do I need that next big thing? Do I need that better thing, the whatever better definition is? But I rarely ask myself, is it really better?
Right.
My parents would argue that newer is not better, especially when it comes to household appliances. My parents are convinced that they make appliances now to wear out sooner. I don't know if that's just a conspiracy theory or if that's really true. However, I usually just assume, if it's newer, it's got to be better. And so I think because I'm not mindful, because I don't often take the time to consider even my own breath, then the next thing I know, I'm just automatically assuming that I confuse convenience with freedom. I confuse access with abundance.
Yeah.
And so it's just this muddled view of looking at things.
Well, and it's very normalized. The appetite for more domination, like that is our norm.
Yeah.
It's what we're used to.
Yeah.
So it's going to take an emptying of what we know and a rewiring to live differently, to see things differently. I think too, even we begin to confuse the opportunity of having more options as being whole. The more options I can have, then the more complete I am.
Yeah.
Ooh. But if we look to nature, nature is full of appetite, but it's not full of greed.
No.
I think it is a good question to consider, what is the difference in taking what we need and taking because we can. I mean, my immediate thought is privilege.
I was thinking restraint. That taking because we can, to me, doesn't show discipline or restraint.
Right. And actually it shows entitlement.
Yes, and selfishness.
Yeah.
And again, that goes back to inner formation. If the boundaries on the outside aren't there, then I have to have something internally that causes me to pause, become aware, and then show restraint. What's the wisest thing that I can do in this moment? Is it to take everything, or is it to take just what I need so that then other people around me can take what they need as well?
Yeah.
So far, we have talked through the consumption of things, tangible things, either products in our environment, those kinds of things. But there is also another level of consumption that's more intangible, that deals with people,
Attention.
information. Yeah. And even spirituality.
So consumption is bigger than plastic and fashion and shopping. It's wider than that.
It's attention, entertainment, news,
Convenience.
productivity, energy, and even maybe people's availability.
So the question then becomes more about our posture underneath the stuff that we consume.
Yeah, and the behavior of consumption.
Right.
Yeah. And I think some helpful questions in this moment, if you're like us and are saying, okay, I hear what you're saying. How do I now tease out, is the consumption I'm doing, is it healthy or unhealthy? And I'm not going to put it, there's so many nuances, but I think one of the things I'm realizing is, in my efforts to consume, does it make me feel more connected to those around me, to the environment I'm in, to the people around, the system I'm a part of? Does it make me feel more grateful and whole or alive? Or do I conversely feel more empty? Do I feel disconnected? Do I feel more entitled, superior by consuming that? And I'll just tell you, this kind of blew my mind, because I tend to think, in our consumeristic mentality, I tend to think we only need to be concerned with the consumption of tangible things. And so I can't say I have thought too long or critiqued my own self too much about the other things that I consume. People's time, entertainment, those kinds of things.
Right.
Even spiritual stuff to my own benefit, with very little regard for the whole.
Yeah.
So this has definitely caused me to stop and ponder how that works.
Yeah. And I think we keep going back to, we've got to ask ourselves, it's not just about like the consumption of the earth, but what is this posture of consumption doing in us? This, been couching this whole topic in inner formation versus outer formation. So then it really behooves us to like stop and ask the question, why am I reaching to consume so much of this?
Yeah.
Am I reaching for comfort? And I know we'll get into that later, but we've got to, I feel like we say this all the time, but we've got to be willing to stop, make space, and reflect and ask the question, is this making me feel more alive? Is this connecting me? Like the things that you listed.
Yeah. Yeah. Is this working?
Yeah.
Is it working on any level other than a quick fix? And I could tell you that sometimes it feels so good to indulge in that, either that drink or that piece of food or whatever,
or purchase,
or that dopamine hit of just this really good feeling for a minute, but that doesn't last.
Right.
And then sometimes we've all had purchases we regret. I have eaten way too much many times over, and then my stomach hurts or I'm lethargic. Yeah. Some of us have probably overdrank at some point in our lives and realized that didn't feel good. I have consumed other people with my words, consumed their time, or with just themselves. I said too much. I didn't say it well. I wasn't conscious of it. And so sometimes I'm like, I want to retract those words even from a moment. And once they're out, it's done. So I think all of this has contributed to, like you said, making us more mindful and more aware that we still have the ability at every moment, with every breath is a new opportunity to reclaim these things.
Yeah.
one step at a time, one decision at a time, one show of restraint at a time. And then to see over time how that benefits the whole.
And what it's doing inside of you.
Yeah.
So you're realizing you have the power to change the formation inside of you.
Yeah.
And bringing awareness is a huge step. And you're going to we do realize that like it's so important because of the system that is driving us. We've talked about many episodes ago. The system that we're in is actually driving our dissatisfaction with what we have.
Yeah.
You know, media, social media, everything we're seeing is here's the next best thing, like you were talking about. I can't wait to upgrade my iPhone, or, you know, this is worn out. I can't use it, dispose of it. Like just the next.
Yeah. You know, I just actually had this moment where I just made this little connection of when we were talking about last month, when we were talking about instinct and intuition. And instinct always asks the question, am I safe? And I thought, isn't it interesting that I think so much of the marketing that we're exposed to and all of these outer drives for dissatisfaction are trying to redefine what makes us safe. All of these are trying to say, you'll be safe if you have this size house. You'll be safe if you look like this. You'll be safe from criticism. You'll be safe from the anxiety that you feel. You'll be safe from whatever it is, cancer or aging.
Yeah.
Or all of these things are trying to redefine how we see what safe is and what we actually need.
More.
Right. Everything is more. And if you just have my product, if you just buy this thing, if you just go to this vacation spot, if you just drive this car, if you just have this type of watch, if you just, you know, whatever that is, your kids go to this school, then all of a sudden you'll be safe and you'll have what you feel like you need.
Yeah. But it's such a lie.
It's such a lie.
Because as soon as that breath is over with and they have said that and you've bought the thing, then they're saying another thing.
Yes.
Where, you know, now you have to work that much harder, sacrifice that much more to get the next thing.
So we become a slave to our inclination or instinct to be safe, but we never questioned, is that definition of safe correct? So this is why, again, I think we can then take the power back and be like, okay, how do I define safety? How do I define need? These are things I think this could change like an entire society. If listeners of the podcast, and including us speaking here, if we could begin to define these things and we have conversations with our own families and begin to like do this, we got to do this in community. Yeah. I don't think I think there are very few people who could do this on their own. But if you could just make small steps to redefine what you need, then it breaks the stronghold of us being just led along by our appetite for the newer thing, the better thing, the shinier thing. Even sometimes when the shinier thing is what I think I'm going to see in the mirror. Or the younger thing in the mirror.
Yeah.
The smaller thing in the mirror or whatever, you know, or the bigger muscles in the mirror. Like when I'm not driven by all of that, and intuition can settle in, and then wisdom comes. I see how it all ties in now.
Yeah. Well, and it comes back to knowing who you are, not buying into the consuming for identity or attaching it to our identity.
Yeah.
Because those things so easily, we attach so easily to those things.
Yeah.
And it's just never ending.
Yeah. Unless we think this is just a cultural thing that has nothing to do with faith communities or spiritual issues. I think I would argue that all of this consumer mentality finds its way into the faith community or the systems of religious institutions that we have. I mean, the Bible alone is a $1 million business selling the Bible because you need the new version. you need this one because it speaks just to men, or this famous pastor promoted that. I mean, consumerism is within the church as well as without.
Sure.
And it's built into that, like, what do I need from this church? What do I need from this staff in order to get what I want? With really little regard for how the whole is affected as well. And then churches kind of help that machine go along sometimes. And so at some point, again, when we choose inner formation and say, okay, I'm going to define, what do I really need? What is the best thing for me to stay connected to myself, to the divine, to the whole? Okay, I'll do, that's what the real thing is. Went off on a little tangent on that.
But sometimes the thing we reach for really is useful.
Mm.
It's needed.
Mm.
It is helpful. It's nourishing and restful. Like a purchase can be practical. A meal can be comforting. A show can be restful.
Absolutely.
And convenient can be a mercy. But when consumption becomes unconscious, it can become a way to avoid listening to what we actually need, which is what you were saying. So sometimes what we really need is rest. Sometimes it is connection. Sometimes what we need is beauty. Sometimes what we need is grief.
Mm.
Silence. Sometimes we need help. Sometimes we need comfort. Like, so the key is actually awareness.
Mm-hmm.
Listening and creating enough space to understand what it is you need instead of reaching for the thing, the alternative that may help you soothe, I guess.
Yeah. Well, I think it goes even back to you articulating the questions as far as around intuition. A couple of weeks ago, the intuition asked, like, what other possible scenarios could there be? So it gives us that pause. And then we say, okay, am I really wanting to scroll, or am I avoiding
Right.
being quiet or talking to the person next to me?
Yes. Yep.
Like, what other possibilities could there be for my
Attention.
supposed desire to do this?
Yes. Yeah.
Whatever that is. Maybe it's intuition that we need that moment to ask what other things could be going on.
So rather than consuming first.
Instinctually.
Yeah. Then being curious.
Yep.
That's good.
So I think some of the questions we're sitting with as we wrap up today is, what am I most prone to reach for when I'm avoiding maybe a deeper need?
Mm-hmm. Or what purchases or habits or inputs promise comfort but leave you feeling less whole?
Yeah. And as we go into Wednesday, thinking through a word that has set with us is enough. Like, how would I define what enough is?
Mm-hmm. Do you really know when you've had enough?
Yeah.
Yeah, so on Wednesday, we're going to dive deeper in what does it mean to tend this gift that we've been given of the natural world. We're going to talk about conservation and balance and living within limits. So we're really excited about it and can't wait to see you on Wednesday.
So maybe the invitation today is not to shame ourselves for consuming. Maybe the invitation is to simply notice. To notice where we're reaching without asking. To notice where more has become automatic. To notice where convenience has disconnected us from consequence. And to notice where we've forgotten that enough even is possible. Because if the earth is a gift, then the question is not only can I use it, the question is how do I receive it? And maybe that's where conservation begins, not with guilt, but with remembering what we have been given is precious.
If something in today's episode stirred a question, a story, or even a quiet yes in you, we'd love to hear it.
You can join the conversation on Substack. Send us a note at info@themorningshare.com or leave a comment wherever you listen to podcasts. We're listening, and we're grateful to be learning alongside of you.